Hello, I just wanted to welcome everyone to this session, which is understanding rapidly evolving consumer behaviors through some next generation qualitative research video tools that we'll be sharing with you shortly. We're going to be doing this in the context of the outdoor grilling space, but just want to make sure you rest assured that this is not just going to be about grilling. It's really about how consumer perceptions are evolving overall. It's about new roles that many products and services are playing in customers' lives nowadays. And it's about changing expectations of the shopping experience online and off as that's evolving. And finally, it's about the changing beliefs consumers have about themselves and what they might need and how they like to behave. There's certainly been a lot of learning through that in the last several months. So if you think about this in terms of the new marketplace that has emerged, future success is really going to require three critical things. One is better marketplace vision. That doesn't just mean more data. It's really important to use that data to improve the clarity of what's going on within the marketplace. It's providing more innovative approaches, and it's operating as an organization with more strategic agility, which is not necessarily the posture that teams have become used to over the last few years, but it's certainly the posture that's going to be critical going forward. This scenario has been the impetus for Stage Leap. For my firm, we really look at ourselves as CX-based growth catalysts. And so as a result, gaining these insights and really getting a deeper understanding of some of the dynamics in the marketplace becomes critical as we design the next generation customer experience. Clearly, in doing that, one of our challenges has been you can't extract those kind of authentic insights and inspiration from Zoom calls, for example. There's not a lot of authenticity there. It certainly doesn't set your consumers and customers at ease, so you're able to capture the most critical learnings from that. You're not going to get it currently from focus groups or in-store shopping. Those are pretty much off the table. And then you're certainly not going to benefit from tracking studies and research that predated the pandemic. Things have changed so dramatically that those insights are no longer as timely as they once were. So for us, at a time when that connection with the customers has never been more critical, it's also never been more elusive. So we have to look to innovative new approaches to try to access those insights and spark some of those new growth opportunities. And that's why we partner with companies like Indemo, where they can bring to us some of those new methods that will allow us to extract the critical data that we need from our audiences. So I'm going to hand this over to Eugene. He's going to introduce himself and talk a little bit about the Indemo platform so you have that context, and then we'll jump back into the study and share with you some of the learnings that we pulled from that.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. So what we do, so Indemo, we're a technology platform that enables professionals and experts like Greg to connect you with your customers so that you can better understand and research how they behave in their everyday lives. So really what we help you do is we help you remotely research customer behavior, consumer behavior. We help you remotely map in a very vivid, contextual way customer journeys. And we're also very, very powerful at helping you research user experiences, customer experiences, patient experiences all over a technology platform that's mobile first. Okay. You can change the next slide there, Greg, please. It'd be great. Okay, so how this works. So how the technology is two components. One is a mobile first application that you give to your customers or research participants that allows you to connect with them in their everyday lives. So think about it really as a bit like Instagram for experience research. So really simple to use, feels like a social networking app. And Greg will take you through this shortly, but basically you can take customers from your CRM, or you can recruit them through qualitative recruiters, and they're incentivized to take part in these experience research projects and show you what's really going on any particular customer journey or in any particular customer experience. So what we do mechanically is we give them tasks or activities to do, and then they show you what they're doing in the moment by either uploading videos, taking selfie videos, they can do photos with captions, they can do online screen recordings, which can be very powerful for omni-channel journeys, or they can just do open-ended text. So it's like an interactive digital diary that basically allows them to take you on their journey with them, okay? And video, I think, is one of the real things here. It's really, really powerful at immersing you in their everyday lives. And, if your status quo right now is a survey or some sort of net promoter score, I think video is really powerful at getting you behind that net promoter score. Not only does it work offline, and the example of somebody standing in line at McDonald's, for example, it also helps you understand online touch points and experiences. So we have a mobile screen recording capability that allows you to get your customers to record how they interact with your website, to record how they use your app, to record how they search Google for your particular category. So it's really powerful at getting your customers to not only show you what's going on in store, for example, or in their homes, but also to get them to record how they might browse Google or shop on Amazon, in relation to either your website or a particular category that you're involved in. Okay. All of this information comes to light on our dashboards, which is the next slide there, Greg. So the respondent, your consumer, your customer is uploading their experiences in the moment using videos in a very rich, media-rich, contextual way. You, as a researcher, a customer experience professional, are sitting at a dashboard that looks like Pinterest, but works like a private one-to-one Facebook. So suddenly this is your customer on a dashboard. This is them standing in store, taking a picture of their in-the-moment point of purchase shopper experience. So you get to see their information being uploaded in real time in the moment from the context of the store or their home. It could be an online screen recording, and everything's brought together in a really powerful, intuitive dashboard. So you can filter that data, you can analyze that data. There's a whole suite of functionality, which Greg will take you through shortly. But also what's very powerful here is you can interact with the customer one-to-one. So if they upload something and say they've had a negative experience in store, you can actually comment on that post. They get a push notification straight to the app. They can reply in the moment, and you can interact with them again in a private one-to-one social networking style fashion. So incredibly contextual and very interactive. Finally, on the next slide here, what we do is we have this capability, which Greg used very powerfully in his project, where we allow them to allocate a 5-point scale to every touch point of a particular journey that you put them on. So think about this as a kind of an in-the-moment net promoter score, where not only are they showing you what they're doing in their particular customer journey or the particular milestone of an experience, they're also rating it in the moment. So you're getting an instant measurement of whether the experience is positive or negative. It's not post-rationalized like a net promoter survey. It's in the moment. So it's really, really authentic, very powerful. But as you can see here, for example, in milestone 3, feedback on the delivery person, where the customer experience dipped, you can filter and actually see the video proving as to why that was a negative touch point. So again, it's almost like an in the moment net promoter score, graphed in real time, in the moment, with video proof as to why your experience is positive or negative in any particular touch point of your journey. So that's a quick summary. What Greg will do now is he'll take you through the project, which hopefully will show you how this capability can bring your customer journeys to life.
Yes, thank you, Eugene. I really appreciate that. Indemo has been a godsend for us. We've always been very strongly supportive of any kind of ethnographic research that we can do to add some color to data, to bring research to life that clients already have access to. So having to work through this pandemic and try to figure out how we can actively reach out and have that same level of intimacy with our consumers, our respondents, has been challenging. Indemo's allowed us to do that. So for the sake of this study, had 9 respondents that we recruited, actively considering a new grill purchase in the next 30 days. The 2 segments we looked at, which are segments that actually cross categories. You'll see this in other categories outside of the grill environment. You have dual influencers, where they're within households that are sharing category decision-making responsibilities around this category. They won't just run out there and make this purchase on their own. They will consult with others within the household. Then you have the single deciders, who definitely feel a level of confidence and expertise around this space, a sense of ownership around this category. So they're less likely to have to check in before they make these types of purchases. They know what they want, and they're more likely to be able to find that successfully. So from a methodological design perspective, we wanted to make sure that we were tracking that the entire stage of this journey. So for us, from a higher level perspective, we wanted to make sure we captured that current state, understood their desired state, what they might be interested in should these category options open up, how they would pursue online research, online shopping, how they would pursue in-store research and shopping, and the role that plays in their purchase decision-making efforts. And then finally, understanding what the overall purchase momentum and or friction might be once they've gone through this journey and had the experiences they've had. From a task perspective, which is really how you design within the Indemo platform. The current state, we were asking people to do video selfies of the state of your current grilling space. So we weren't able to be there in person with them, but they were able to be in there in the comfort of their space, in their environment, and actually capture some of their thinking in real time there. Then from a desired state perspective, we could use surveys. We're able to capture some feedback commentary. We're able to also understand them commenting on some of the criteria and how it's changed. So we use a number of different touch points within the Indemo platform to try to narrow in on what kind of desires were emerging within the grilling category. For online research and shopping, as Eugene had talked about, the screen recording capability was very powerful. They were actually able to navigate us through what they were seeing based on the choices they made online. Were they beginning with search? Were they beginning with a favored retailer? That type of thing. And then moving into the in-store environment, having them both photograph and also reflect via video on the in-store elements that captured their attention, both in a positive and negative way. So a very powerful set of data there. And then finally, also as Eugene reflected, taking a look at those ratings at each stage of the journey as they went through them, and then at the end, a reflection on video of what they experienced. So beginning with the sharing and reflection of the current state, what we found, respondents were repeatedly referencing the changing role of grilling. So as we had talked about a little bit before, a lot of the roles of categories are changing and have changed through the course of the pandemic. So you need to make sure that you're tracking with some of those changes within your business area. In this case, more time is being spent outdoors, and there are plans to extend the season. So because of the situation we're all in, households are looking as to how do they make sure that they have that outdoor capability still within the deepest parts of winter. I'm reflecting on that now, coming from the Midwest. So we've got that to look forward to. But people are anticipating continuing to use these products when they might not have otherwise. There's also a heightened importance of grilling in the meal preparation mix. People are home more, they're preparing more meals, and so they want more variety. Grilling provides a role in that variety that they didn't have necessarily as much before. And then finally, broadening involvement and interest across the household. So because you're in a much more confined orbit now, people are becoming more exposed to others' activities. So there's more interest, if you haven't grilled before, in whoever is taking the lead in that grilling task. So I wanted to reflect a little bit of this in some of the videos. We created a montage thanks to the Indemo system that allows you to actually hear this in their own voices.
I think one of the things that's changed about kind of my expectations for grilling since the pandemic, we eat in a lot more than we used to. We used to go out to eat a lot. Now we're eating more at home. And so I think we would really like to grill more often.
Forced to use the grill a little bit more in a way, mostly because everything was closed. You can't really go out to eat. But it's also nice out, you're stuck at home, get more practice with the grill, more experience. So I don't think my ideal grill or grilling area has really changed at all post and pre-pandemic. But I think the fact that we used it more kind of pointed out the things that we were lacking before. Like I said, the counter space, lacking in some respects. When you have people over, you want a little bit more space to prep. So for me, that's one of the things that I noticed using it more over the pandemic.
My ideal, I would say, for grilling has changed since the pandemic started. I think it would be, and my level of desire for a gas grill has increased since the pandemic started, just because we're home and I want to be able to change up what we're cooking. And I don't really want to have to be out in the elements, you know, waiting for the charcoal to get
got the Joe about a year and a half ago, and I probably use it more now than I would normally do. But since the pandemic, really nothing has changed. Unfortunately, when you cook on the Joe and you make a brisket, it's hard to eat it all in one sitting when you can't invite a bunch of friends over. So that may be the only thing that's changed in the pandemic, is not being able to sharing the great food that's cooked on it.
So just from a research perspective, real quick, it's fascinating to see these types of commentary emerge. Definitely didn't change my behavior at all based on the pandemic, and then your respondents are immediately sharing what exactly changed. So even in the course of their thought flow, it's just fascinating to extract some of those elements, like we're actually not cooking the same volume of foods on our grills as we used to because there's not as much social interaction. So loved what we were able to extract from that. As we moved into this next stage, which is really understanding the initial thoughts around the desired state, that's where we were able to lean into some of the keyword clouds and the tag clouds that are available on the Indemo platform. The videos are transcribed for us, so we can do a quick analysis on that. We can dive down into some of the captions and other types of content that our respondents have provided to do a deeper analysis, and then really understand how they're thinking differently. So what we heard and what we were able to pull is, in a lot of cases, what I or we have is fine, which is a great trigger word for I'm open to other things potentially if you can be convincing. There's an increasing proficiency around grilling. There's an increased DIY mindset. Again, that is not just around the grilling category. That's around a number of different categories as we're coming out of this pandemic. And you have to think about, with that increasing proficiency, what are some new features and functionalities within your category that your customer may be looking for or demanding? So as it is reflected in that next bullet, there are elevated expectations. With regard to grilling, it's around the workspace, it's around the variety of cooking styles, it's around features, it's around performance. And then ultimately, it's the inspiration for all of these respondents to consider better. So what we have currently has always been fine, but we aren't in the same current state. So based on what we're now dealing with, what could improve this space for us, this experience for us? Moving into the next stage, which is obviously key, online research and shopping experience. So how are our respondents utilizing online as a tool, and what are they extracting from that experience? So again, utilizing the Indemo platform and the screen recording capability, we're able to take a look in real time at what those experiences are like, what's frustrating, what's encouraging to them, and extract some insights from that. So I'll go ahead and play the video first.
Let's try barbecue guys. I've used them, checked them a couple times on different things. We'll see if we can find a grill there. If I'm going to replace my grill, I'm not going to spend a lot of money because I have the smoker. So I want just a freestanding gas grill. I'm going to filter this thing for, really want probably a medium-sized grill. I want it to be a gas grill, not a flat top. Looks like I'm going to have to look for something in the $500 to $1,400 range. And that's what I find when I'm looking at some of these sites, is they kind of have the more expensive stuff from a grill perspective. So here are the ones that
heat distribution. That's something I'm definitely interested in. I want things to be cooked evenly. That's one of the problems that I find with the charcoal. Heat retention. I wonder if there's a way where I can compare. A functionality I would like to have here is being able to compare side by side a couple of grills.
So this looks like it's the next one up based on the price. 60,000 BTs. I don't remember what the other one was, but I like this iGrill 3 probes. I haven't used that yet, but I like the idea that I could, if I was cooking something that needed to stay on longer than 15 or 20 minutes. Like I'm thinking about grilling turkey breasts for Thanksgiving this year. That would be a useful feature to have. Well, they never seem to have the thermite setup at Lowe's, so I'd probably need to buy it from Amazon or from the manufacturer. I'm not a big fan of Home Depot, so I don't usually go there.
The other thing that's so rewarding about this tool is you can just hear people get just comfortable and in their zone. So even when you are in a UX environment where it feels very artificial, this is a tool that allows them just to be them and basically use these same tools in the ways they normally would anyway. So from the online research experience and shopping experience that we pulled, some positives and negatives coming out. Some of them are starting to align based on the segment, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But in general, positives, there's a better selection online. There's an expectations that the retailers in general are going to support the purchase across a number of different factors. So where that used to be a differentiator in the past, retailers have really stepped up. And now there's both a heightened expectation and also more of a parity in that part of the experience. On the negative side, compare contrast is still difficult and has been in demand for quite some time. Clearly we haven't perfected that side of the experience. And they're navigating a lot of near parity products, so that becomes important. As they're also looking at new experiences, there's this uncertainty around what some of these new cooking experiences are like, the pellets, the grills, or the griddles. And then for some, for example, those dual influencers, the scale and size uncertainty is an issue, which is why the in-store environment becomes so important. So again, in using that Pinterest type portion of the dashboard, we're able to very quickly take a look across all of these in-store experiences and start understanding what our consumers are experiencing in the store environment, what they're reacting to, either on a positive or negative basis. From a positive perspective, in general, there's an increasing of patients with poor in-person experiences. That certainly is reflected here, at least on the positive side of the equation. It's a tangible experience. You can actually touch the product, which in some categories like grills are important. Again, assembly, very distinctive within the grill environment. That's very important, especially within that dual influencer segment. And then clarity around the new cooking experiences where you can actually touch and feel what those look like. From a negative perspective, associates, highly ineffective. Clearly, we're in a unique retail situation right now with regard to associates and the associate interaction, but that's even more clearly felt now from those who are in need of that in-store experience to pay off for them. There's fewer shopping tools, there's poor merchandising and limited selection. This is a situation where retailers are just in their groove on when they change out for seasons, but maybe not reflecting on a category that is still going to have a heightened role coming into a season that they haven't had before. So as you lead your categories through some of these, that's something to keep in mind with your retailer conversations. Now, as we move into the overall purchase momentum and friction, this is where we wanted to understand what are those ratings indicating as our respondents have gone through the journey, and then what kind of story are we extracting from this, hypotheses that we might want to test further. So what's interesting is we start looking at this, particularly against the different segments, is the single deciders and dual influencers have definitely a different experience that they're capturing here, both in the online in-store and also in their final reflection stage. I know this is probably a little bit hard to read, but what we're focusing in on here is within the single deciders, they had a much higher perspective or perception of how the online experience was for them, how effective it was. The in-store experience was kind of equally disappointing for both segments. But ultimately, the single deciders didn't need that in-store reinforcement as much as dual influencers did. So by the time they got to the end of this journey, they were actually in a posture to very seriously consider making these purchases. They were feeling good about some of the options that they had identified, whereas the dual influencers, because of the importance of that in-store confidence building moment and the fact that in-store fell down so much for them and online certainly didn't support a positive experience either, by the end of this journey, they weren't feeling as motivated to make upgrades. They weren't feeling as confident that they would benefit from those types of upgrades. So again, it's qualitative, but directionally, there are some hypotheses here that are emerging that we would want to test further. So we touched a little bit on the positives and negatives in each of these. And then ultimately, I wanted to just wrap our session today with you before the Q&A. Very much looking forward to the Q&A and kind of diving into the tool a little bit more and to some of the analysis a little bit more. We wanted to at least share the new learnings that we were able to extract from this. And we wanted to do that at a higher category or cross-category level. So this wasn't just about grilling and how we reflected on this. This is really about this new marketplace and some of the dynamics that we're seeing play out. So first of all, customers are rethinking category roles. So when you look at your own category and you look at the role your category has been playing, it may have changed. So using tools like Indemo to really dive deeper and start understanding how that dynamic has shifted is going to be important. Household involvement and influence is growing, even across segments. So even those single deciders that could be a little more renegade with the kind of purchase decisions they've been able to make in the past, they may need to check in with the household a little bit more, because the household has more skin in the game. They're more involved in a lot of these activities within this more confined space that they're having to share. As a result, shopping priorities and desired features within categories are changing. So another critical area where qualitative plays an important role. Fourth, shopping expectations are standardizing. So you're finding less differentiation at retail. A lot of these retailers are at least providing a level of support behind purchases that are pretty consistent. So now it becomes even more on the products and on the services to make sure you're delivering on promises and clearly differentiating what you're offering versus competition. And then finally, InStore continues to be key in some categories and for some segments. So depending on what space you're dealing with, that InStore component is likely playing a role, and it's just important to understand exactly what role that might need to be. So I don't know, Eugene, if you had any other comments before we start moving into the Q&A.
No, it's fascinating to see how behavior is changing, you know, and I think one thing that really struck me just on the screen recording is they pause. So the value in these online experiences, and you said it yourself, Greg, is they're quite authentic, quite natural, quite neutral when they're doing these journeys, but you get to see them pause, you get to see them think, and then you get to see them act. So that was something that popped out for me, but it's fascinating to see how all these categories are changing and the roles are changing. Extremely powerful. So it's
Excellent.
great.
So as we move into the Q&A, one question we wanted to throw out there is, how are you building your understanding of today's rapidly evolving customer behavior? I'm sure there will be other questions that have emerged from this, but definitely looking forward to the conversation. And thank you for the time today.